Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Always excited to be back.
So today we're going to be taking a look at this book by Alex Holder called Open Up.
Ooh, I've heard good things about this one.
Yeah, it's got like a 4.03 rating on Goodreads.
Oh, wow. So people are really resonating with it.
Yeah, so we're going to try to figure out why, unpack some of those key takeaways.
Yeah. What is it about emotional honesty
Mm.
that speaks to so many people?
Right, and why is it such a big deal? And then we're going to, dive into how to actually like put this into practice.
Yes, because I think that's where a lot of people struggle.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's one thing to read about it, but another thing entirely to actually do it.
Right. Exactly.
So speaking of doing it, it's funny because it seems like we're living in a time where everybody's talking about being emotionally open.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like it's become this buzzword almost.
Right.
But what's interesting is that it wasn't always like this.
Oh, yeah, not all. I mean, think about it. Like back in the day, like the early 1900s, it was all about keeping your feelings bottled up.
Especially in certain contexts, like the military, for example.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like, can you imagine trying to have like a board meeting and like someone starts crying?
It would have been unheard of.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think about how far we've come.
It really is. And it's interesting to think about what sparked this shift.
Yeah. What happened?
Well, Holder talks about this in Open Up, and he points to the influence of social movements.
Oh, that makes sense.
Think about the civil rights movement, the fight for gender equality, even the growing awareness around mental health.
Yeah.
All of these movements brought our inner lives into the spotlight.
It's like they gave people permission to start talking about their feelings.
Exactly. And then, of course, social media came along.
Oh, yeah.
And suddenly, everyone's sharing their deepest thoughts and feelings online.
For better or for worse, right?
Right, exactly.
Hmm.
But it definitely contributed to this culture of emotional openness.
It's like that fear of being vulnerable just started to melt away.
In some ways, yeah, although I think we're still grappling with that fear.
Oh, for sure. But here's the thing that really stood out to me about Open Up. It's not just saying like, hey, let it all out.
Right. It's not just about venting.
Yeah, it actually digs into the science behind why stuffing down your emotions is bad for you.
That's what I appreciate about the book.
Yeah.
It's not just some vague self-help advice.
Right.
It's grounded in research.
Exactly. Like I remember reading about how bottling up emotions can literally make you sick.
Oh, absolutely.
Like increase your risk for anxiety, depression, even physical health problems.
It's like your body's trying to tell you something.
It's like, hey, pay attention to me.
Something's not right here.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us have experienced that.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I know I've been through periods where I just tried to toughen up and push through it.
And how did that work out for you?
Not, well, it was like this pressure cooker inside me.
I can imagine.
And eventually it all just exploded.
And it's only after we let those feelings out that we can actually start to heal.
That's so true. So it's not enough to just express our emotions, right?
No, it's about understanding them too.
Yeah, and that's where Open Up introduces this concept of emotional granularity.
Oh, yes. I love this concept.
It's basically like being able to pinpoint exactly how you're feeling.
Instead of just saying, I feel bad.
Right. It's like being able to say, okay, I'm feeling disappointed and frustrated because...
Exactly. It's about getting specific.
Yeah, and I think that level of awareness can be so helpful.
It can be transformative.
Yeah, like imagine you're in a meeting and someone dismisses your idea.
Ooh, I've been there.
Instead of just feeling generally upset, you can identify those specific emotions.
Like maybe you're feeling undervalued.
Yeah, or maybe a little bit embarrassed.
Exactly. And that clarity helps you respond in a more constructive way.
So it's like emotional honesty isn't just about venting. It's about understanding and expressing those feelings in a way that helps us move forward.
Right. It's about taking ownership of our emotions and using them to guide our actions.
And the cool thing is, Open Up doesn't just leave you hanging.
No, it actually gives you tools to help you do this.
It does. And one that really resonated with me was journaling.
Oh, me too. Journaling is so powerful.
It is. Holder talks about it being like a safe space.
Yes.
Where you can untangle all those feelings without judgment.
I think a lot of people are intimidated by journaling.
Oh, I know. I used to be.
They think they have to be a great writer or something.
Or that they have to have these like profound insights every time they sit down.
But it's really not about that at all.
It's not. It's more about just becoming aware of those patterns.
Yes.
Like, oh, every time this happens, I tend to feel this way.
Exactly. And once you start to see those patterns, you can start to shift them.
It's like shining a light on those subconscious reactions.
And then we have a choice.
Right. We can choose to respond differently.
And that's where the real power lies.
Okay. So journaling is one tool. What else does Open Up recommend.
Well, the book also talks about mindfulness.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of mindfulness.
Me too.
Yeah.
It can be so helpful for managing emotions.
It's like hitting the pause button
Yes.
on your emotions so you can observe them without getting swept away.
It's not about emptying your mind.
Right. Which is what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
It's more about creating space
Exactly.
to notice those thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Like, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now.
Interesting.
What can I learn from this?
Yeah. And by not judging those emotions
We can actually start to understand them better.
and respond to them in a healthier way.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got journaling, we've got mindfulness. These are great tools.
They are.
But I gotta ask, like, how do we actually get better at expressing our emotions?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is, because I feel like communication is where things can get messy.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we can have all the self-awareness in the world,
Right.
but if we can't communicate our feelings effectively, it's not going to do us much good.
You're so right.
So what does Open Up say about that?
Well, Holder gives some really practical advice.
Okay, I'm all ears.
One thing he emphasizes is using I statements.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
It is, but it's so important.
It is.
So instead of saying, you make me so angry.
Right, which just puts the other person on the defensive.
Exactly.
You'd say, I feel angry when you do this.
It takes the blame out of the equation.
And it shifts the focus
Yes.
from attacking the other person to explaining your own experience.
It's about taking responsibility for your own feelings.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about listening? Because I feel like that's the other half of the equation.
Oh, absolutely. Holder talks a lot about active listening.
Like really tuning in to what the other person is saying.
Not just waiting for your turn to talk
Right, it's about being present.
and showing empathy.
And that kind of deep listening can make people feel safe enough to open up.
It creates a space for vulnerability.
So it's like this two-way street.
Yeah.
We're expressing ourselves clearly and listening empathetically to others.
It's about creating this environment where vulnerability is welcomed and valued.
Okay, so we've talked about the individual side of emotional honesty.
The internal work.
Right, but Open Up takes it further.
It does,
It explores how emotional honesty plays out in relationships.
which can be a whole other ballgame.
Oh, totally. Relationships are like a minefield of emotions.
They can be so challenging.
And Holder acknowledges that.
He does.
He says bringing emotional honesty into our relationships can be the toughest challenge of all.
Because there are so many obstacles that can get in the way.
Like what kind of obstacle?
Well, think about it. We've all been there, right?
Oh, yeah.
You want to share something real with someone,
Uh-huh.
but then that fear of rejection creeps in
Oh, yeah.
and you end up holding back.
Totally. It's like, what if they don't like the real me?
What if they judge me?
Exactly. And that fear can be so intense.
Especially in romantic relationships.
Oh, for sure, because the stakes feel so high.
Right. It's like, will they still love me if I show them this part of me?
It's terrifying.
It is. But Open Up argues that pushing past that fear
Yeah.
can actually lead to deeper intimacy and connection.
You know, it reminds me of this time.
Or tell me about it.
So I was dating this guy,
Okay.
and we were having a great time, but I was holding back on sharing some things about my past.
Because you were afraid of how he would react.
Exactly. I was like, what if this scares him off?
I get it.
But then one day, he opened up to me about something really personal.
Oh, wow.
And it created this safe space for me to share my own story.
That's beautiful.
It was, and honestly, it was like this huge weight lifted.
I bet.
Our relationship actually became stronger because of it.
That's a perfect example of what Holder's talking about.
It is.
By taking that risk, you both created a deeper level of trust and intimacy.
And it highlighted one of his key points,
Which is?
that overcoming those barriers to emotional honesty often starts with building that foundation of trust.
Trust is key.
It is.
Wow.
But what about those times when past experiences make it hard to open up?
Yes. That's a really common obstacle.
Like, what if you've been hurt before and you're afraid of getting hurt again?
Right. Open Up addresses this head on.
He does.
Holder talks about how past traumas
Yeah.
can leave us feeling vulnerable and hesitant to let anyone in.
Makes sense. If someone's emotions have been dismissed or invalidated in the past,
It's going to be hard to open up again.
it's like they've built up these walls to protect themselves.
Exactly.
And it's not just about romantic relationships either.
Right.
Think about those societal expectations.
Especially for men.
Oh, yeah.
Be tough and stoic.
It's like those old school ideas about masculinity.
Yeah.
They're still lurking around telling guys they can't show vulnerability.
But Holder argues that pushing past those expectations
Yeah.
is actually a sign of strength.
It's like true strength comes from being able to be vulnerable.
Exactly. It's about having the courage to show your true self.
Okay, so we've got to build trust and challenge those societal norms.
Right, but how do we actually do that?
Yeah. What are some practical steps?
Well, one of Holder's key strategies is consistent communication
Okay, so it's not just about having one big, deep conversation.
and then shutting down again.
Right. It's about creating a pattern.
Of open and honest dialogue.
So like regular check-ins with your partner.
Exactly. It could be something as simple as asking, how are you really feeling today?
And then really listening to the answer.
And that consistency helps to build trust over time.
It's like you're showing the other person that you're committed to being open with them.
And that you value their feelings.
Okay, so it's not just about what we say.
Right.
It's also about creating a safe space for the other person to open up.
That's so important. Holder talks about the importance of creating a safe space for vulnerability.
And how do we do that?
It's about being mindful of how we respond to the other person's emotions.
So if someone shares something vulnerable with us,
We avoid judgment,
criticism,
dismissive comments,
it's about validating their feelings
even if we don't fully understand them.
or agree with their perspective.
Exactly. Active listening is so important here.
It's about showing the other person that we're fully present and engaged in what they're saying.
Yeah.
And that can make a huge difference in creating a sense of safety and trust.
It can be transformative.
So we've covered personal relationships,
Yes.
but open up doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't.
It also delves into emotional honesty in the workplace.
Which can be a whole different beast.
It can, because it's like how much is too much.
Right. We have to find that balance
Yeah,
between authenticity and professionalism.
because you don't want to be like crying at your desk every day.
Right. Exactly.
But Holder argues that bringing emotional honesty into the workplace
Yeah.
can actually benefit everyone. Really? So how does that play out?
Well, for starters, think about communication and collaboration.
Okay.
When people feel comfortable expressing their true thoughts and feelings,
Yeah.
you get more open dialogue and more productive teamwork.
That makes sense, because if everyone's walking on eggshells,
Afraid to speak their minds.
right, it's going to create all sorts of tension and miscommunication.
Exactly. And when there's emotional honesty,
Yeah.
it fosters trust and respect between colleagues.
And that's essential for any team to function well.
It is.
It's almost like it breaks down those hierarchical walls
Yes.
you often see in companies.
That's a great way to put it.
Like suddenly it's not just about who's the boss.
It's about everyone feeling valued and heard.
Right. And Open Up doesn't just theorize about this.
No, it doesn't.
It actually provides real-world examples.
Of companies that have successfully integrated emotional honesty into their culture.
Oh, really? Like what kind of companies?
Well, one example that comes to mind is a tech company
Okay.
that implemented something called emotional agility training.
Emotional agility training, what is that?
They had mindfulness sessions,
Okay.
workshops on understanding emotions, even peer support groups.
Wow. That sounds pretty comprehensive.
It was, and according to the book, it made a big difference.
Like what kind of difference?
They saw improvements in employee satisfaction,
Mm.
teamwork,
Ew.
even innovation.
Wow. So they basically boosted their bottom line
Yeah.
by creating a culture of emotional honesty.
They did. It's pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing. What about the other example?
The other one is a healthcare organization
Okay.
that implemented a speak freely policy.
Speak freely. I like that.
It encouraged doctors and nurses
Yeah.
to openly discuss their emotional experiences without worrying about hierarchy.
I can see how that would be especially important in a field like healthcare.
Oh, absolutely. It's a high-stress environment.
And did it have any positive effects?
Definitely. The book mentions that it improved morale
Okay.
and reduced turnover rates among the staff.
That's great.
Well,
But what's really interesting is that it also had a positive impact on patient care.
that's what's so fascinating about emotional honesty.
Yeah.
It has this ripple effect.
It does.
It impacts not just ourselves.
But the people around us.
Exactly. And in this case, the patients were benefiting from the healthcare professionals feeling more supported.
Because they were able to show up more fully for their patients.
Right.
That's powerful. So these examples prove that creating a workplace that values authenticity,
Empathy
open communication,
can make a real difference.
and it's not just about our own lives and careers, though, right?
Right.
The book also touches on raising emotionally intelligent children.
This is where it gets really personal for a lot of us.
It does, because we all want what's best for our kids.
We do. And the way we handle our own emotions has a huge impact on how our children learn to understand and express theirs,
So we're their role model.
whether we realize it or not.
So what are some key things we can do to raise kids who are comfortable with their feelings and able to communicate them effectively.
Well, one of the biggest things Holder emphasizes is leading by example.
Okay, so like walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. Kids are like sponges.
They absorb
If
everything.
we're constantly bottling up our emotions,
Right. Or expressing them in unhealthy ways.
they're likely to do the same.
It's like we're teaching them by our actions more than our words.
Exactly.
So it's about showing kids that it's okay to have feelings,
To talk about them.
to express them in a way that respects ourselves and others.
Right. And we can do that by being open about our own emotions in an age-appropriate way.
Okay, so like if we're feeling frustrated,
Yeah.
we can say something like, I'm feeling a little frustrated right now because,
Exactly. We're modeling healthy emotional expression.
without overwhelming them with our adult problems.
Right.
And what about helping them develop their emotional vocabulary?
Oh, that's so important. Teaching them words to describe different feelings.
So instead of just saying, I feel bad,
They might learn to say, I feel disappointed, or I feel angry, or I feel scared.
having those words empowers them to communicate their emotions more effectively.
It does. And Open Up also talks about the importance of creating a safe space for children to express their emotions without judgment.
So we resist the urge to say, don't cry, or you're being silly when a child is upset.
Absolutely. Instead, we validate their feelings and help them understand what's going on.
We could say, I see that you're feeling sad.
You don't talk about it
It's about approaching their emotions with empathy and curiosity.
rather than trying to shut them down.
That makes sense, and by doing that, we're helping them develop the emotional intelligence.
They need to navigate the complexities of life.
This all makes sense, but I'm curious about the long-term impact.
Yes.
Does raising emotionally intelligent kids actually make a difference in their lives?
Absolutely. Open Up points to several long-term benefits.
Okay, like what?
One major one is improved mental health.
Okay, that makes sense.
Kids who grow up in an environment where emotional honesty is valued
Yeah,
tend to be more resilient and better able to cope with stress.
because they've learned to identify
Understand.
and express their emotions in a healthy way
Exactly. And those coping skills can have a huge impact on their mental well-being.
throughout their lives. And the book also points out that emotional intelligence can lead to stronger relationships.
Oh, for sure. Because they've learned how to communicate effectively.
And listen empathetically.
It's like they have a stronger foundation
Yeah.
because they've learned to navigate their emotions
So even though it might take some effort,
to create that kind of environment.
it's an investment that pays off in the long run.
It is. It's an investment in their well-being,
Their relationships.
their overall happiness.
And it's never too late to start right.
It's not.
Even if we didn't grow up in emotionally honest environments,
We can still learn and grow.
and model those skills for our children.
That's so true.
It's about being open to learning and evolving.
And giving ourselves permission to be imperfect and vulnerable along the way.
Because let's be honest, none of us are experts at this.
We're all works in progress.
It's a journey of self-discovery and growth for everyone involved.
Exactly. And Open Up is like a roadmap for that journey.
It gives us the tools and insights to help us navigate those complex emotional landscapes.
It does. It's like we're planting seeds, for the next generation.
I love that. And speaking of planting seeds, we were just talking about raising emotionally intelligent children before we
Yes.
went to that last little break there.
Such an important topic.
It is. It really is. And I know it's something that you're super passionate about.
One of the most valuable gifts we can give our kids.
Totally. So we talked about leading by example,
Yeah.
and helping them build that emotional vocabulary.
Mm.
What else can we do to foster emotional intelligence?
Well, Holder really emphasizes creating a safe space for kids to express their emotions without judgment.
Okay.
Like letting them know it's okay to feel whatever they're feeling and that we're here to listen and support them no matter what.
So if they're having a total meltdown,
Yeah.
we resist the urge to say, don't cry.
Right. Or you're being silly.
Right. It's like we try to understand what's going on for them.
Right. Exactly. Meeting them where they are emotionally.
And we can say things like, I see that you're really upset. Can you tell me what's happening?
Validating their feelings, even if we don't fully understand.
Which it can be tough, right?
Oh, it can be so challenging.
Because sometimes their emotions just seem so big.
And overwhelming.
Yeah, and irrational.
Right. But their feelings are real.
Yeah.
Even if the reasons behind them seem small or insignificant to us.
It's like their world is so different from ours.
It is.
And what might seem trivial to us.
Could be a huge deal to them.
Exactly. And by honoring their feelings.
We're helping them learn to trust their own emotional compass.
So what about when kids are struggling to express themselves verbally?
Ah.
Are there other ways we can help them communicate?
Absolutely. Open Up talks about exploring other forms of expression,
Okay.
like drawing, painting, even playing with toys.
It's like finding those creative outlets that allow them to express themselves nonverbally.
Exactly. And remember, play is a powerful form of communication for children.
Play is their language.
Yes,
Yeah.
and by observing their play, we can gain insights into what they might be feeling or struggling with.
It's like tuning in to those nonverbal cues.
Being present with them in their world.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory,
Yeah,
but I'm curious about the practical side.
of course.
Like, what are some real-world examples of how this plays out in families?
Well, Holder shares some really heartwarming stories in the book
Oh, girl.
about families who have embraced emotional honesty. And one that sticks with me is about a father who started having regular feelings check-ins with his son.
Feelings check-ins. I like that.
Yeah, they would simply sit down together
Uh-huh.
and each share one feeling they were experiencing that day.
Okay.
It didn't have to be anything deep or profound
Just a simple acknowledgement.
of their emotional state.
So it was like a low-pressure way to open up the lines of communication.
Exactly. And the son, who had previously been quite closed off,
Yeah,
started to open up more and more.
that's great.
He began sharing his worries and anxieties, and the father was able to offer support and guidance.
That's beautiful.
It is, and it shows that even small, consistent efforts can make a big difference.
And what about the mom? Was there a mom in the book?
Oh, yes. There was a mother who decided to be more open with her children about her own struggles with anxiety.
Wow, that takes a lot of courage.
It does, but by sharing her own experiences, she was able to normalize talking about mental health within the family.
That's huge, especially these days.
It is, and her children felt less alone in their own struggles.
Yeah.
And they learned that it's okay to ask for help
It's like she was breaking the stigma.
around mental health
Yeah.
by being vulnerable and authentic with her kids.
I love that. And these examples really highlight the ripple effect of emotional honesty.
Yes.
It's like it creates this sense of connection and belonging.
Within the family unit.
Yeah, so it's not just about teaching our children to be emotionally honest.
Right.
It's about embodying that ourselves.
You nailed it.
Like we
Yeah.
have to walk the walk.
It's about creating a family culture where vulnerability is embraced and celebrated.
So Open Up is making a strong case for why raising emotionally intelligent children is so important.
Yes.
But what about those long-term benefits?
Oh, there are so many.
Does it actually make a difference in their lives, down the road?
Absolutely. The research is clear on this.
Okay, good.
Children who grow up in environments where emotional honesty is valued,
Yeah.
they tend to have better mental health,
Okay.
stronger relationships, and greater resilience in the face of challenges.
It's like we're giving them this toolkit for life.
I love that.
It's like equipping them with the skills and resources they need to navigate the ups and downs.
Of life.
Yeah.
With more confidence and self-awareness.
So even though it might take some effort to create that kind of environment,
Well,
it's an investment worth making.
absolutely. It's an investment in their well-being, their relationships, their overall happiness.
This is never too late to start. Right.
Never too late.
Even if we didn't grow up in emotionally honest environments.
We can still learn and grow and model those skills for our children.
It's like we're all on this journey together.
We are.
It's about being open to learning and evolving and giving ourselves permission to be imperfect
And vulnerable,
along the way.
because none of us are experts at this.
Right. It's a process.
It's a journey of self-discovery and growth for everyone involved.
And Open Up is like this guidebook.
A roadmap.
Yeah, to help us along the way.
That's a great way to put it.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Oh,
We've
yes, well.
explored emotional honesty in our personal lives, our relationships,
Our workplaces.
our workplaces, even in parenting.
And what's so great about Open Up
Yeah,
is that it connects all these different facets of life.
it does.
It shows how emotional honesty is this thread
Mm.
that weaves through everything we do.
It's like the more we practice it in one area of our life,
The more it spills over into other areas.
exactly, it becomes a way of being in the world. So as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive, what's one key takeaway you want to leave with our listeners?
If I had to pick one, it would be to remember that emotional honesty is a practice.
It's not a destination.
It's not something we achieve overnight. It's something we cultivate over time.
It's like building a muscle.
Exactly.
It takes time and effort.
So be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
Celebrate those small wins along the way, and never stop exploring the depths of your own heart.
That's beautiful. I love that so much. All right, we're back and ready to wrap up our emotional honesty deep dive.
I feel like I've learned so much already.
Me too. And Open Up has given us so much to think about.
It really has, like a practical guide to navigating emotions.
Exactly. But now it's our turn to take what we've learned and actually apply it, right?
Absolutely. That's the key, putting it into practice.
But before we set our listeners free to do just that, is there any final wisdom you want to impart?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that emotional honesty is a gift.
A gift.
Yeah, a gift we give ourselves and everyone around us.
It's like by being vulnerable, we give other people permission to be vulnerable too.
Exactly, and that creates a ripple effect of empathy and connection.
Wow, so powerful. Well, I think that's the perfect way to end this deep dive. It's been an amazing exploration of what it means to be emotionally honest with ourselves and the people in our lives.
I couldn't agree more. It's been a real pleasure diving into this with you.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you feel inspired to open up a little bit more and connect a little bit deeper.
And remember, emotional honesty is a journey, not a destination.
Be kind to yourself along the way.
And keep those hearts open.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.